and I am doing a normal podcast episode today. It's like the middle of December, and I don't know, I don't know where November came from, and then I don't know how it was a full month. Like, to me, it was 2 weeks, and I don't, yeah, it just flew by. Absolutely flew by. I did not get enough knitting time in November. It was a great month. Like, I had social things and I had work stuff that was busy and lots of like networky stuff, and that was good. But I did get to the end of November and I was just kind of like, all right, I want to go home. I want to knit. Leave me alone. So the first couple weeks in December, I've basically done that. I mean, there's still work and social and all the stuff, but less intensely, and I have definitely prioritized knitting over filming or posting or doing anything, because I just felt like I needed it as a sort of wind down from a pretty intense period. So I did manage to get up a video about unraveling my cashmere jumpers. If you haven't seen that and you're interested in that kind of thing, then go have a look. But it's a very long video. It was a very long video to knit, or sorry, not to knit, to film, but it was actually kind of fun, and it helped me think through some of why I love doing it. So anyway, that's that. Today I only have one finished object, and then I have lots of whips. Well, I have 1, 2, 3, 4 whips. And I have some dreams and plans, but I'm probably not going to get into those because maybe I will. Maybe I'll get into at least one that I'm thinking of for potential travel knit for when I go to California in January. So anyway, I've just realized I've left my one finished object on the other side of the room, so I'm going to go get it and then I'll be right back. So before I actually get into that, I should talk about what I'm wearing. So this, I kind of intentionally wore this because it's related to one of my whips, but this is another version of the late checkout sweater that I kind of use as my staple baseline for a drop shoulder by Kutovakika, and this is quite oversized. So this is, I think, the first one I knit. So when backing up, the yarn itself, I bought some of it for a project. So this kind of like sagey green color. I bought some of this and a blue for a kind of a crochet project that I was working on a couple years ago. And it didn't quite turn out how I thought it was going to. So I sort of just stuffed it in a bag, and I still have pieces of it in a bag that I need to unravel and reuse the yarn. But I had some leftovers of that, and I was like, oh, I think it was January last year, and I was like, I just want to throw like something on the needles that's going to be easy, that I'm not going to have to think about. And I started making a raglan, but it just wasn't what I was going for. And then I ripped that back, and then I started creating this. And in my head, this was just using up scraps. And so I bought a couple, I'd say using up scraps, but then I ended up buying a bunch of things to fill it in. So everything sort of coming down to this gray color. I was going to do blue after this, but I ended up changing my mind, was the scraps. And then I added this sort of like peach color and this pink color. I will put the actual color names in the description box. But I knit this on 5mm, I believe, and I held the yarn double. So this is brushed alpaca, and I did this sort of gradient thing. I would do this differently next time. If I ever do sort of a gradient, I have now ideas of how I would do that so that it's more easy, like it's more of a blend. But basically I just held the color double, and then I did a couple of rows of transition, and then I held it one color of the next color plus one color of the original color, and then did it again. This is quite big and oversized. I'll try and stand up and kind of give you a sense, but it is super cozy. It's very light. It's really warm. I wasn't sure I was going to wear it because I do wear a lot of cashmere and this is not, and it's not quite as soft, but it's actually pretty durable. I've worn it quite a lot. There's very little signs of wear. It probably needs to be washed, to be fair, but yeah, I love it. I actually love it. Like I do throw it on for dog walks, and it's just this wonderful warm layer that I'm not super precious about. It's fluffy and nice and simple, and I love the colors. The colors definitely are part of what I love about it. And yeah, so that's what I'm wearing. I can't remember what size I knit this in. It's definitely a larger size, maybe an XL. I'll try and figure that out and put that somewhere. I don't think I made a ton of alterations to this one, except for I probably did a few rows of, what's that called? German short rows on the sleeves to give it a little bit more of a cap. Not that it needs it in this boxy of a knit. So that is what I'm wearing, my first finished object. I completely forgot to talk about in my last video, and I'm just gonna show him because he's so cute. Look at him. I am obsessed. I'm so obsessed. So this is the Grinch. This is a sort of stuffed toy. I'll put the designer's name on the screen. She does a number of these little stuffed toys. This is a free pattern that she released, I think, last year, and I saw it last year and like fell in love and was like, I need this in my life, but I wasn't gonna knit like a Grinch in the middle of summer. So I knit him, I started him in November, like the beginning of November. And the way that you knit this is, I don't think I'm giving anything away because the pattern's free, but the pattern is excellent, by the way. So if you want to knit this, if you've never knit a stuffed toy, highly recommend her patterns. It's just talked through all the steps. It has video that kind of like talks especially about like the embroidery on the face, and sort of how you seam it up and to give shaping, and yeah, just really like thorough and helpful, and yeah, super happy with the pattern itself. But basically you knit the head flat, and then you seam up the back, you stuff the head, well, you put the eyes in and then you stuff the head. And then you either knit the body flat or you can knit it in the round. So I knit it in the round on magic loop. And so you pick up under the neck and then you kind of knit down into the body, and then you knit each of the arms separately and the legs separately. And then you stuff them. And then I knit a little scarf because the neck transition doesn't look, I mean, it looks fine. It's just, I'll show you. It's just cuter with a scarf. But like, no, he needs a scarf. So I knit this with mostly scrap yarns that I had. The only one that I bought was the green, the base green yarn, because I didn't have anything that like, you gotta knit the Grinch in green. And I didn't have anything that kind of like worked for this. And so I bought a sock yarn, Val Yarns, superwash sock yarn. And it is, I mean, he's just so cute. And I'm just like, yes, he's just adorable. Anyway, I held that double with some like leftover scrap silk mohair that was not actually mine. It was something I inherited from somebody else. And then the body, I did a sort of red and yellow with a maroon mohair. Again, these are all kind of scrap yarns, sock yarns, things held double, but it's just a very like marled effect. And then in the pattern, she doesn't do a, she basically like doesn't, the legs are just green, and I thought that looked weird. So I gave him trousers, because he needed the decency of trousers. You do have these fun like cuffs on the sleeves. You'll see that I'm trying to block my face. You'll see that I ran out of the purple mohair that I was using in the body, and I just changed it to some blue mohair. So there's like little scrappy bits because that happened on this side as well, and I used a different mohair there. The body of the trousers versus the legs of the trousers are different mohair. So again, very scrappy project, but I just think it turned out so perfectly that like he's just so cute. And I loved the guidance on the face and the shaping and the embroidery, and just like, I don't know, it was a very different knitting process. We're just gonna sit you here. So it was a very different knitting process to what I'm used to now with garments, in that you almost got like second sock syndrome at every stage because or second sleeve or whatever it is, because like when I finished the head and I seamed it up and I stuffed it, I ended up not picking up for the body for maybe a week, just because I was like, I don't know, it stopped. It's very stop and start, because of course you've got like all the pieces of it, and when you're working on other stuff, it's not like when you go to the next stage you need to figure out where you are and what you need to do, and it's like a different headspace. So especially because I'd never done this kind of thing before, so I think that was probably the biggest challenge for me, was sort of just, I mean, because this is sort of a time sensitive thing, because I wanted him in my decorations, I came back to it, but I could see how if I was knitting a toy that wasn't sort of seasonally specific, I might struggle with like sticking to, or like coming back to it, and then just let it fall off. That is, yeah, I'm trying to think what else I can say about him. So when I initially cast on, that's what I was going to say. So I cast on early November. Initially I knit with 2 strands of the sock yarn plus 2 strands of mohair on 2.75 millimeter needles. And that was too dense. So the pattern calls for, I think, Cascade 220, and 3 millimeter needles. I don't have 3 millimeter needles, so I was like, oh, I could go to 3.25 or I could go for 2.75. And a few people had commented on like the fact that these are supposed to be knit dense. So I started with that, thinking like, okay, I've got to knit this really dense. It was too dense. Like there was no malleability in it at all. And it was just hard. It was like hard on my hands. I was like, I know this is supposed to be hard on my hands, but this feels too hard. And I'm just going to be miserable if I'm trying to do this the whole time. But then I kind of like looked over, some of the videos and her stuffing it. And I was like, you know what? I think I can go up a needle size and without one of the strands of mohair. So I did that. So this is on 3.25 with 2 strands of sock yarn and 1 strand of mohair. And I think that worked out really well in terms of the denseness of the fabric. I can't see anything through it. I stuffed him with initially scraps. So most of the head is scraps. And then I realized that my dog's food, Lola's food, comes in it's like eco packaging, which is, because it comes frozen. So yeah, it's got like this eco packaging, which is basically wool, and it's in this like sheet, and they tell you to like put it on the compost or put it in your garden. I have a small balcony, but like there's no compost or can you see him there? I wonder if you can. Maybe not. How do I kind of just want him to, maybe there. Stay. So I stuffed him with initially scraps, and then I actually ran out of scraps pretty quickly, like the types of scraps that I would use to stuff. And I ended up, stuffing him with this wool. I had to wash it because it smelled like I need my coffee. When you take it out of the packaging, I think it's very rustic. So it was like, it's like wool mat, but I opened the bag and I left the room to like go do something else, and then I came back in the room and it felt like, smelled like there was like a sheep in my living room. Like the entire room smelled like sheep, which I love it. I love a little bit of sheepiness, but like this took it to a whole other level. So I did wash what was in the bag, and then I kind of have some leftovers. So if you're looking for some like raw, like very rustic wool to stuff things with, maybe I'll leave my email, the one I use for the YouTube channel, below, and you can, if you live in the UK, I'll send it to you. If you live outside of the UK, it's probably going to be cost prohibitive, but yeah, send me a note. It comes in these like sheets of wool, and I don't have anything else to do with them, and I'm not going to make that many stuffed toys, so yeah, let me know. So that is this guy. So that is my Grinch. I am in love. He is wonderful. I can absolutely see myself knitting like a little stuffed toy every Christmas, just having that as like a little tradition, because I think I will get so much joy out of pulling this out of my Christmas ornaments every single, like out of my Christmas decorations boxes every single year. Of course, he's not gonna live out in my house every single year. Maybe I will knit, like, part of me now wants to knit like little toys to have around, but I don't have a lot of, I don't have a lot of space for that kind of thing, so maybe not. Maybe I just make this a special Christmas thing and we enjoy that. So, the Grinch, little stuffed toy, my finished object, my new favorite thing I think that I've ever knit, probably. Realistically, yes, definitely. Highly recommend the pattern. Great little scrap busting thing, especially if you're not precious about things being perfectly matching. I think the fact that I could kind of do a marl meant that I could use lots of different things and they could kind of go together, because all the legs have blue and red, and then mohair changes, and the body has red and orange, and then the mohair changes. But yeah, love, so happy. Okay, put you here, you stay. I might knit him a hat someday, but I'm pretty happy with that for now. Right, next we're gonna talk about my whips, and I have a few of them. One of them I found, I had completely forgotten about. It was a sock that I was making for my husband, like a house sock that I was making for my husband last year, and I knit one and then I did not knit the other one. So this is the sock that I finished. I'm not entirely sure what needle size I knit this with. So this is Drops Nepal. It will shed like crazy, I know that, but it's such a pretty color. It's like this deep sort of, I don't know if it's coming up on camera, but it's almost like a greeny teal blue. It's got variation in it. It's just really pretty, and it's a very him color, and I just felt like it was a nice little Christmas gift. So it's gonna be Christmas this year. These do not take long, so I think I'm like 99.9% sure that this is the Cozy Toes sock pattern, which is a free sock pattern. I will figure out the name of the designer, and it's sort of for like charity knits, and she's got different like cast on numbers for different sizes in different yarn weights. So this is, I'll figure out what this is. I think this might be the worsted weight. So then that would probably tell me what I cast on with, needle size. And then I can actually just count the stitches, because there are not that many of them, to figure out how many, like what I actually cast on with, and then I'll just try and work off of what I did with the rest of the sock in this one. I know these do not take me very long, like probably an afternoon. So I do just want to finish this and have it out of my bags, but this is my Cozy Toes house socks in Drops of Pal with, for my husband, as a little Christmas present. I don't do a lot of gift knitting, but every once in a while I like to give him something just small, and I don't like the pressure of gift knitting. Like, I'm happy to gift knits, but I don't want it to feel like I have to get it done in a particular time, or yeah, that. So that's my first whip. Second whip is my Carta vest. And I haven't worked on this for a little while, so I'm still working on, let's get this out. So I think when I talked about this last, I had just done the swatch to just trying to wrap my head around the stitch pattern. That was a very good exercise for me, and by the time I got through that swatch, I felt pretty okay about the pattern. The pattern is a very like line by line instruction, so there's like 22 pages of pattern, and I've gone through, like, now I'm kind of through making my way through it, realizing it's really not that difficult. It's just, and I keep thinking, like, would it be better, like, would there be a way to do this where you weren't doing line by line? And I actually think the way that it's written is really what's best for the pattern. So, you know, unsurprisingly, the designer kind of knows what they're doing. It is one that I've just had to, like, let the process go, don't try to make edits to it. It's also one where you kind of choose width and depth, or sorry, height, so like how long you want it. I think I probably could have gone for the shorter one, but I think I'll still enjoy it in the version. And it's hard to know how it's gonna actually sit until it's on your body, so maybe not. So I have this, which is basically the pattern, and I just have a pen, and I'm literally go through every single line and like cross it off as I'm done with it. But I thought I wasn't gonna be able to read the pattern itself to see where I was, and turns out I can. It's easier on the right side than it is on the wrong side, but I can kind of just like look on the other side and see where I'm at in the repeat. And sorry, I'm gonna take a sip of this. And this is where we're at. So we've just been doing the front, I think it must be the front left panel. So you can sort of see where we're at here. So basically it sits like this. Let's see if I can give you a little bit more of a, yeah. So it sort of sits like this. And then I think I've got one more repeat to go here before I go to the other side, and then you do the back. So you can see the stitch pattern is beautiful. I love the yarn I'm using, which is this sort of reclaimed cashmere that's a bit felted, so it's giving it some nice stiffness to it. It's also just kind of got like a marled effect. It's really just beautiful, and it's such like a lovely color. The like material is super squishy. And yeah, I am just actually enjoying it. I do find it, and I found it easier. So it's knit on quite large needles. What are these? 6.5 millimeter needles. And I'm finding it just one that's actually pretty easy to pick up and knit 2 rows and then put back down. So it's kind of good for travel. I knit on it when I was on a train. I knit on it when I was at the hairdresser's. I knit on it. And there's some certain techniques that I think create like these really nice edges. Trying to hide myself. And I think those look really great. So yeah, like details that I would probably use in other sweaters in the future. So I feel like I'm learning from it. I feel like I'm enjoying it. I'm learning from it. It's not going super fast, but I'm not focusing on it. I would say that this is probably not my, it's not been my main focus. It's been one that I've kind of grabbed and stuffed in a bag and brought with me places. But it doesn't require a lot of brain because all of the braining has been done. And yeah, I just kind of need to get on with it. And I want to finish this panel in the next couple weeks. So I should have more knitting time in the next, I don't feel like I've actually done that much since I last did a podcast episode. Like I'm super proud of this guy and I love him. You'll see like the other ones, I don't feel like it's that much to show for it, but I just haven't had that much time to knit. And I think the next couple of weeks I will, because it's getting into that sort of quiet time and I'm making it a priority to just have my knitting time because I have missed it. And when you've got a lot on, I think it makes you really appreciate that you have this little safe, cozy space to, just a safe, cozy space to come back to and re-energize from. Because for me, I'm definitely in the introvert category of people drain me, things drain me. I live in a very over-stimulating city. Like, you go for a walk and I tried to explain this to somebody, but I think I see on my dog walk every day, I think I see probably close to 5,000 people. Like just because I'm walking through train stations and I'm not like looking at 5,000 people, but just processing that much information around me. And so to come home and like be in my cozy, and especially now because I've got like Christmas tree and everything else. It's very nice to come back to my cozy. So that's my vibe for this like festive period. Is I think I'm done with all the super social stuff and I'm pretty sure I don't have anything else. Like there's a few little things, but Christmas will actually be very quiet. And then I go to California after Christmas to spend New Year's and time with family. But yeah, so that is my Carta vest. I am hoping to finish this front panel and then start working on the other front panel. I'm not entirely sure how I'm going to do with yarn on this, but the good news is that I will do the two front panels first and then you do the back panel. So I think that means that if I need to use other yarn in the back panel, that's not such a bad thing. And actually I've been thinking that the cotton cashmere that I have for my other late checkout sweater, the kind of sweatshirty one that I have showed in past videos, that yarn, I have a whole other ball of that yarn, and if I need it, I think that would work for this. So I think I could either dye it or I could just do it as like striped gray and pink. What is it, like gray and pink? I'll make that call when we get to that problem. But for now, I think I should be able to tell how much weight one of these panels is, how much weight the next will need, and then kind of play with it from there. But yes, love it. Very much looking forward to, moving along with this. Right, so that is that one. And then I'm going to talk about my Vivie cardigan, which is chugging along. We're definitely not finished with it. I had this thing that I was going to be like done with it in when I went to the Cotswolds, which of course I thought was the end of November, was actually the middle of November. But either way, like, that wasn't happening. Not a chance. And I'm really okay with that. I don't think I've had a project like this yet in my knitting journey, where I just love the process of it so much that I'm not in any hurry. Like, I don't want it to be over. It's like a good book. Like, I like living in the world of this cardigan, and I don't really want to leave that world. Like, it's this super comfort knit for me right now. So I'm gonna show you where I'm at. So where I was last time I showed this was I had started on the sleeve. So I had done some of the body, but I had stopped to kind of check that I had enough yarn to do the sleeve the way that I would want to do them. So because we're gonna start from the beginning. This is the Vivie cardigan by Sari Nordlund, and it is a cabled, all over cabled cardigan. I am knitting this to sort of feel more like a jacket than a cardigan. So I've made a lot of alterations to it to do that. So this is a beautiful cable pattern. I'm knitting this in slightly larger sizes than I would if I was following the pattern. I have made multiple alterations or modifications to this based on what I'm trying to create with it. So some of those include where the shoulder join happens, I did sort of a faux seam by doing a row of purls, then a lateral braid, then one row of sort of seed stitch or rib or whatever you like, knit purl, and then another lateral braid, and then moving into the next panel. I had done something similar on the sleeve, and I'd actually pulled back the sleeve. Sorry, other modifications I'm making is instead of reverse stockinette, I've done seed stitch throughout where it was. I've also done under the arms. I've just added another cable because I didn't want to be bored just doing seed stitch. No other reason really. And yeah, so then I got to the sleeve, and I had done like something very different on the sleeve, which was I had basically done one of the sort of faux seams, and then I had done some German short rows to try and create more of a cap. I decided I didn't need any of that, and I had started knitting the cable repeat, and realized that I had also done that incorrectly because I had kind of, in the shift from knitting the cable repeat flat to knitting in the round, I had kind of miscounted my rows, so I was twisting it too early, I think a row too early. So I pulled it all back, and then I reknit just with I did the seam stitch just by doing a row of purls and then a lateral braid, and then moved into the pattern. So I ended up having to pull that back again because I realized that in the kerfuffle of changing my mind about how I was doing things, I had picked up the wrong needle size, and I was knitting this. So I'm currently knitting this on 4mm. Recommended is I think 3.5, but I think her gauge is definitely looser than mine. So the 4mm is doing what I want it to do. I think I had picked up a 5mm. So it was like quite dramatically different to the rest of the body, just because I was like knitting it much looser. And so I had to pull that all back. And then I redid it, and I did kind of one of the balls that I had, so one of these sort of 100-gram balls of yarn. The yarn is a off-the-cone Kariagi, 20% cashmere, 80% wool, merino wool, and it's this gorgeous, I think it's part of why I love this project, is like, it is just this gorgeous yarn that is like super varied, like different colors. It's hard to show on camera exactly, but in the light, it's just like, there's so much variation in this color. It's just subtle and beautiful and very like natural feeling. It's very mossy feeling. And I love it. So I also changed the motif on the sleeve as far as the cables go. So I think in the pattern, you do one of the kind of big cables and then you've got like the little ones on the side. I'm not 100% sure on that. I'll put up pictures of the actual pattern. I did, again, this is more to do with my desire to do more cabling instead of seed stitch, because I find it more interesting, but I basically did 2 of the big ones and then 3 of the little sort of, one of the little cables and this sort of faux seam detail in between. And I'm happy with that. I probably could have done more, to be fair. Like I probably could have done another small cable on each side and it would have looked fine. I'm gonna take a photo of me kind of trying to try this on at some point and put it up. But yeah, I'm really happy with how the arm turned out. It is definitely, like I did the decreases pretty much, I did decreases every other of these big cables. So that just helped me keep track of it, and it will help me when I do the other sleeve to remember that. But I definitely have more stitches on my sleeve. So I've done, how many decreases did I end up doing on this? So yeah, this is definitely not in the pattern, but I think I've done 8 or 9 decreases so far, which is not totally dissimilar to what my size and the pattern would tell me, but I picked up quite a lot more stitches because I wanted this to be loose and something I could wear over other knits. So finished one of the sleeves just to kind of see how far this got me. And this does get me kind of lengthwise where I want to be. I'm going to hold on that until I have the collar in place so that basically the collar will help make sure it sits in the right place and then the sleeves go to the right length. So I just want to hold on that for now. But then it gave me the confidence to make this a little bit longer than it was when I had stopped knitting on it. So I added a few more, and then I did another one of these sort of faux seams before moving into the ribbing. So the faux seam thing again is lateral braid, a row of knit pearls, and then another lateral braid before moving into the other thing. I probably would have, and I think I'll do this on the sleeve, is do the pearl bump row before moving into the lateral braid, just because I think it's, even though it's blocked, so I did a mid-project block on this after I did these before I picked up for the button band. And I think you can see how it kind of still goes with the wave of the cables, which I don't like. This does not bother me in any way, but I think the pearl bump helps with that a little bit. So to kind of just have it lay more flat. And then I did a twisted rib and a tubular bind off, just to kind of give it more oomph. So yeah, so that's that. And then I have since picked up for the double knit button band and knit down on one side. So I'm sort of halfway through one of the button bands on the one that doesn't have the buttons, or no, the one that will have the buttons sewn onto it, so it doesn't have the buttonholes. I have not figured out what buttons I'm going to use for this at all. I need to do some experimenting with sizes and yeah, so that's still an undecided for me. I might go, it's Saturday, it's gonna be a mess. My like local yarn shop is Loop in near Angel, and I'm gonna go up there anyway for a workout at some point, so I might stop by and see what they have. They've got some fun, beautiful buttons. I also have buttons though, so I want to see what I've got and see if there's anything that I have currently that will work for this, or if I want to get something different and fun. I find buttons very hard to choose. It's like, I know you can change them, so it's not the end of the world if you pick something and then decide to do something else. It's more about the size that you choose proportion-wise with what you're trying to create. So yeah, I think that's what I'm going to be aiming to figure out over the next couple days. But right now I am just thoroughly enjoying knitting on this. Like I just don't want it to end. I have no rush. There's no part of this that there's no point in knitting this where I felt like I want it, like I just want to get over it. Like I just want to keep knitting on it. So I'm actually gonna be really sad when this is over, but I think I've got like plenty more work to do. So we'll see. We'll see when I finish this. It will probably be in December, maybe in January, who knows. So yeah, that is Vivie cardigan, sorry Nordland. I will leave more of like the details around needle size and what sizes I'm knitting below. This is really hard to show, but yeah, I'll take a photo at some point, maybe when I have the collar on, to just show how it's fitting. And that's that. Otherwise I'm working on it. I'm loving it. And then final is my Homestead sweater. So the inspiration for this was sort of a sweater that I had seen likely in mohair on Pinterest. I think others have commented they've also seen that and wanted to knit something similar. I think it's that landscape concept where you've got a variety of, like, a beautiful pastoral countryside-y, cottagey landscape thing happening. And I saw the Homestead sweater and was like, I probably could modify that slightly to demonstrate what I'm trying to, or like to create that visual. The thing about the Homestead sweater, and it's a great pattern. It's knit with quite large needles. So I'm knitting on, I think these are 8mm. Yeah, 8mm needles. I'm knitting with 3 strands of the Drops brushed alpaca, so that's this yarn. And I did that intentionally to kind of create more of a watercolor feel to it. I sort of like more like the mohair versions than her version, which is knit in Drops Air held double. I'll show you where I'm at. And I'll tell you what I'm thinking about it. I am not very far with this so far, but this is where I'm at. Now you will notice that it's already very different to what hers looks like, specifically in that I chose, so these are, you can't really see them very clearly, so I'm gonna have to do some, basically the overarching message that I have come to with this is I'm going to have to do embroidery to make this what I want. Or I'm gonna have to reknit this on different gauge to get the detail that I want. So I think my plan at this point in time is I have done some alterations I've done some changes to the grid. I didn't do it in Stitch Fiddle. I tried to play with Stitch Fiddle, but I didn't have much patience for it, so I gave up and just printed out the size. So I'm knitting a size extra large on this because I wanted it to be quite oversized and roomy. So I printed out the grid, like the pixel grid. What do we call this? The grid for the chart. There we go. Wow. I printed out the chart that is for my size that I was knitting, and I just drew on it, actually. So I'm not going to show that because I don't want to show anything I'm not supposed to show. I know she's had issues as it is with big retailers knocking off her designs and stuff, and I know that happens to a lot of designers, and that's really frustrating. So I just wanted to, I'll just show it as it evolves. And so I made some changes to that. I also just knew that I was going to play with color on this, so I have chosen a variety of different colors. I don't know how well you can see that, but there's quite a lot of change in colors going on that are not in her pattern. I'm not, like, I've got one section that is just one color, but that's simply because I ran out of other colors and I had to order more yarn. But otherwise, it's a lot of marled, it's a lot of depth, I think, in the colors. These are, I think in her design, I think these are geese. They're white. I wanted them to be ducks, so I made them sort of, which makes them less, like, much lower contrast. But I think I'll add some detail to them with embroidery, like, you know, orange beaks and things like that. Yellow beaks, orange feet. And a little bit of green on the head and things like that. So I'm actually looking forward to the point where I can kind of play with this to get it more what I'm looking for. It's knit in panels, bottom up. I think basically what I'll do is obviously, so technically the pattern only has the chart on the front, and then the back and the sleeves are just knit in one color. I'm probably going to knit the front and the back in a motif and do the sleeves in a more of a gradient, so like kind of do more of this style to just, because why not? Yeah, I've simplified certain things, so like I've gotten to the sheep and I'm not using the black. I'm going to do that with embroidery. Basically, I'm going to knit the front panel, see how I like it, treat it as a massive learning experience. If I don't end up liking the end piece, it's not the end of the world. I will have learned a lot about intarsia, which I had never done before. And I've actually really enjoyed it. It's way simpler than you think. It's a little messy because you've got balls all over the place, but this yarn is great for it because it sort of sticks to itself. So I don't actually have it on bobbins. I just have it in balls. And I don't mind weaving in ends. That doesn't really bother me. So, and I think in this case, I'll actually probably end up using it to enhance some of the shapes that I'm trying to create. But I have a bunch of like creative ideas around what I want to do with the embroidery after I've done that. And so I think if I can get the front panel done and then go back and do the embroidery and it turns out kind of how I have in my head, or at least a version that I'm happy with, then I'll do the back panel and the sleeves and we'll go from there. I need to improve my embroidery skills, I think. It's one of those things where like I've done some embroidery, but I haven't done much. If you have any recommendations for like a video that is really good for like beginners with embroidery. I bought that book, the embroidery on knits or something. I'll put it up. It's really helpful, but I'm wondering if I can just like, I just don't know the basic stitches really. So any recommendations for channels to watch or people to kind of try and learn from, that would be great. Oh, I completely forgot something else I was going to get your opinion on, which was my Vivie cardigan and the collar. My initial thinking was a 1x1 rib collar with twisted rib, because that's kind of what I've used on the cuff, or sorry, on the hem, and do that folded over. I am now thinking, is there a world where I do this just in a double knit collar? And is there anything that I need to know to do that without it, like so that it shapes properly? Because I do still want, because I think rib obviously sucks it in a little bit. And I do want it to do that. So if I did double knit, obviously I can go down, like I've already gone down needle size for this. So I'm knitting the double knit button band on 3.5 millimeter. I could go down further. I could do 3 millimeter. I'm trying to look for either commercial garments or garments that are like patterns that do more of a double knit collar, to see how they turn out. but I'm open to ideas. I do want it to be a little bit substantial, but not necessarily huge, just substantial, structured. That's what I'm going for. Anyway, back to the Homestead sweater. So that's my plan currently, is keep going. I am enjoying, it does require me like focusing. It does require me sitting in front. I can really only knit this on my bed with balls of yarn everywhere. I have so many different colors to play with, and I'm really enjoying that part where I'm just kind of like being like, what if I reached the end of a ball that I've pre-wound, and I'm like, what if I change up one of these colors so that there's even more variation in this section of variation? So it's definitely, we're definitely playing here. And I do enjoy that process. I'm a little bit worried it's not going to turn out to be the vision that I have in my head, but I think I will learn so much from it that I actually would be able to create that if that's the case. Like I think I'll leave, if that's the case, I will leave the panel that I've done for the front, and I will try and recreate this in a way that is going to be more aligned with what I'm trying to make. So I will then just self-draft based on the gauge of garments that I think will give it a little more detail. So I'd probably go down needle size and just create my own motif grid chart. Wow. We're not gonna remember that word right now. Right now, it's not super inspiring to me, but I'm gonna be patient with what it could become. And I think doing some of the details will really help bring that to life. So let's watch this space, and I'll just hold on my thoughts and opinions there. All right. I think that's everything for now. I am thinking about, or starting to think about, like, what do I want to do for a travel project or one or two projects, because a lot of my projects are not going to be suitable for travel. Definitely not my Antarctica project. I think my Vivie cardigan, probably not. I might cast on some socks just to have them. But I saw a picture the other day, and I know I mentioned this in one of my videos where I was like, I have some yarn that I might want to turn into a vest. And I got a ton of amazing recommendations for this. One thing that popped into my Pinterest feed a couple days ago, and I'll put the photo up and I'll try and credit it properly if I can find where it's come from, was somebody knitting that very famous, and I'm not going to remember the name of it right now, but that that very well recognized pattern from Teti Luxak, and I love her designs. They're so incredible. So I think it was basically like, it was in work in progress photo of it, just like almost just the front bit where she's tried it on. And I was thinking, like, could I turn that into a vest? I know I want to knit that pattern someday. Like, it's definitely on my list, but I don't have a huge need for the garment itself right now. And I thought the way that looked was actually really chic. And then I noticed that other people have done various versions of this. So they've done versions that is just the vest. They've done versions where it's a bit more of a cap sleeve. They've done a lot of different versions. So I feel like it's definitely doable. For anyone who has knit that pattern and knows what I'm talking about, I guess any advice on like what I might want to consider if I decide to do that. I definitely don't think like this will preclude me from knitting the full sweater at any point, but I think it could just look really cool as a vest to throw over a shirt, or just really cool. And I think it would be a fun knit for travel. Maybe not. Maybe you'll tell me and be like, no, you need to be focusing on that chart every single time you do it. But I don't mind focusing on a chart when I'm traveling. It doesn't need to be totally mindless for me, because you tend to just be like sitting. So as long as it's like easy enough, Like this, the Carta vest is actually a great travel one because there's stuff going on. I have to kind of like keep an eye on the pattern. I'm aware the lighting has just gone bonkers because it's actually really sunny today, but we're just gonna power through and you can, yeah, hopefully that's okay. I'm gonna put you, because you're like, there you go. Yeah, so thoughts, opinions on that. There were so many great ideas of just simple slipovers, but I feel like slipovers or vests. The other one I am really considering is the, a lot of people recommended this, and I've seen somebody styling it in a way that I really liked, because before that I wasn't sure about it, which is the Rosa Kumar Pelican vest, which if I knit that, I do feel like I'd want to make the neck more rounded, and I don't know how complicated that would be. I can't imagine it'd be super complicated, but I don't love the V that is created. And not like I love it on other people. I don't think I will fit it well into my wardrobe. So I think if I can round that off a little bit, it will become something more my style. So I know it seems like a tiny little detail. It's just, when I see that vest in the way that it is, I'm like, I love it. It's just not quite me. But if I imagine it just slightly more, I don't know if that looks more polished to me or more, I don't know what it does. I don't know what the massive difference is, but that's what makes it more appealing to me. And I think it's such a beautiful and looks like quite a fun knit. So that is another idea I have going. And then I've got a bunch of other things. I have been dreaming up Christmas jumper knits that I'm definitely not going to knit this year, but I might do a video on it just to like, if I get around to it, I will do a video of like dream Christmas knits that are never going to happen this year. Because I've got like 5 or 6 of them that I'm just like, ooh, and I'd like to just get it on paper. And then if I come back to it next year and I'm like, oh, I do still love that one, or that one's not at all my thing, then I think that's a good sign if it's something that I still love, much like my Grinch. Oh, you lost an arm. There you are. Okay. Otherwise, I don't have a yarn advent, but I have a couple of advents that I was just going to show because they're here and they're cute. These are ones my husband got me. He definitely knows that I love an advent. Oop, just dropped one. I love an advent, especially as like a getting yourself into the Christmas spirit. So this is the first one, which is a tea advent from a fancy French tea brand called Mariage Frère. And it is just everyday tea in a pink box, which has been really fun. They do beautiful teas. I don't buy their teas a lot, but this makes it kind of fun and special. So that's one that I've been doing. And then the other one has just dropped, but I thought I'd show it anyway. Neither of these are sponsored or anything, in case that wasn't painfully obvious. This is, I just loved the illustration on this. So it is I think they're from Cornwall, Saint Ival. They've been like popping up a lot this year, so I don't know exactly what their backstory is, but it's a candle brand and they do scented candles. And this is their advent, and it is so beautiful because every single day is basically a different scent of their candle. So it's a great way to like test out scents that you might like. And they're little tea lights. So I have lots of little tea light holders around my house, and that makes it more usable. Like, yeah. But anyway, I thought I'd show those too. So that's all. I have a couple different videos that I may or may not film over the next few weeks. One is the like Christmas jumper videos that are never gonna, like Christmas jumpers that are never gonna happen this year. I thought about doing a gift guide, not so much like for knitters, but more for knitters to gift that aren't knitting. like giving the gift of cozy. I have some ideas around that. And then I think I'll try to film something between Christmas and New Year as like another podcast episode or planning video for January, or for like the spring. But that's all for now. I'm going to stop rambling about things that I probably won't do because I'm going to be enjoying knitting instead. So I hope you are all well. I hope that you are having some cozy time to get through your projects and find sanity in the chaos that can sometimes be this time of year, or just enjoying the quiet. London is one of these places that gets very quiet, like right around Christmas, and I love it. Like it is the London I love. My husband and I do joke that we really love London when there are no people in it. And that's, problematic because it's a very populated city. But I just wanted to say thank you again for watching, and yeah, I would love to hear from you. I would love to hear if you have like Christmas traditions that you do. Like I can see this becoming a knitting Christmas traditions, that is. Like I can see this becoming my little Christmas tradition. Doing one of these sort of like little stuffy things that becomes part of my Christmas decor every year. But if you have something like that, I'd love to hear about it. And otherwise, I will see you in my next video. Thank you so much. Bye.